Welcome to almost part two, but maybe it's a continuation of my previous podcast, which had to do with onboarding or hiring people. And we talked about the three C's there. Remember, we talked about character, competence, and chemistry. So let's say you've done that, you found the person, and now you have hired them. Awesome. They're part of the team. They have a starting date. They have a salary, the whole 9 yards, keys, and whatever else is incredibly important in your organization. But how do we onboard these people? How do we ensure that they are aligned, that they are connected, that they feel welcomed? What are some of the critical things that need to be part of your onboarding process? I have a whole template that I go through, and there's many things on the checklist. But can I give you some of the key items that I believe are incredibly important? Number one, in the three C's, we talked about that personality test. It might be DISC or Brings and Young. There are other ones out there. I believe it is incredibly important that this information is shared with the individual and that they understand the team, the organization, the culture that they are coming into, and that you have a comfort that they are going to fit in. So let's check that box. That's been done. The obvious one, that is not so obvious, by the way, is that people have job descriptions that are updated with clarity and expectations and skills required. You would be surprised how many organizations hire people and basically just tell them, well, find your own way and learn the job as you go. That is incredibly unfair and unrealistic. And so we need this in writing, updated, with all the essential things that go into a job description. If you don't have these things in place, someone needs to begin to develop them immediately. The onboarding plan itself, where I include actually interviews of people they need to speak to, skills that they may need to learn, software that might be incredibly important to your organization, anything that is essential that they need to know needs to be put onto this onboarding plan. And by the way, my friends, they just can't hit the ground running. You have to give people time to be trained, to learn these things, to learn your systems. All these systems that, by the way, you may take for granted need to be on this onboarding plan, and who they need to meet and who is going to train them and how much time is required. That's a great point. How much time do we give people to actually learn the job instead of just learning it as they go and many times making mistakes and being called out for it in the process? What about reporting lines? Who's my direct report? Who's the dotted line? Who do I need to answer to? Who do I go to if I have problems, issues, or concerns? Sometimes people are just left in absolute confusion because many times the structure is not right. It's not clear. And so what an incredible opportunity to actually create a structure and an organizational model that makes sense and people know who to go to for what, particularly when problems arise or, we have questions. Otherwise, the people you're serving are not going to be served very well. What about your goals, your objectives, your expectations? Are they communicated to this individual? Do they know this coming in? And can they meet these goals and objectives? What are your values? What are your culture? What is it that you are requiring of them on a daily basis, a quarterly basis, a yearly basis? Many times people just have no idea what they are coming into. They're just kind of thrown into the fire and basically told to survive. And if you survive, you're a good employee. And if you don't, well, then we'll replace you. What a horrible organization that would be. These things need to be identified, communicated to the individual so that people are set up for success rather than failure. So the key word here, clarity, 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 clarity. And by the way, you probably need to have consistent meetings on a weekly basis, sometimes on a daily basis, depending on the complexity of your organization with this individual. How are they doing? How are they progressing? What are their frustrations? What's their learning curve when it comes to training? And by the way, are the actual boxes that you're checking on that onboarding plan, are they being checked, or are they thrown right into their work rather than being trained properly? Long term, versus short-term thinking is going to determine the success of the individual, the success of your plan, and ultimately the organization. Thank you for joining me today. As always, if you have any questions, concerns, input, throw it down there and I will answer all of them. Thank you.